Hello and welcome to this week's Angel Oracle card reading for week commencing the 23rd of July 2018. Thank you so much for joining me here this week. Really grateful that you tune in. I so appreciate it. I love connecting with you each week and how we can read these cards together and see how we can navigate through our lives and what messages come through from the divine. I feel there's a massive healing energy coming through at the moment from the divine. It's almost so overwhelming and beautiful that it kind of makes me want to cry a bit. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that. Let me know what you're feeling in the comments if you are picking up on some energetic shifts at the moment. So like we said, we're going to use the energy oracle cards, and we're going to pull 3 cards, and these 3 cards symbolize the energies this week, and we do it in sections. So we're going to do the middle of the week, the beginning of the week, the middle of the week, and the end of the week, and see what comes up for us. So we have I'm going to give it one more shuffle. I was listening to my inner voice then, and it was saying shuffle one more time, so we will. Okay, so let's check out what comes up for the start of this week. We have card 14. 1 and 4 is the number 5, and 5 means great change in our life, big changes in our life. The word on this card is caring connections, and we have this couple sort of holding each other. This could be a number of caring connections. This doesn't just have to do with a romantic relationship, although it could. We could be finding that if we're single, we really are connecting to somebody on a much deeper level, and we're kind of wondering where it's going to go, and all these flutters of excitement when you get those first buds of romance come up. It can be such a magical time and a really thrilling, exhilarating and uplifting time, and sometimes a bit scary as well. So some of us may be enjoying that. If we're currently in a relationship, it could mean that it's going to a deeper level where we're having a really caring connection. We could love somebody. We can love somebody, but to really care about somebody, to care about someone's welfare, to put to consider somebody else's needs and to empathize and put ourselves in their position is such a beautiful thing. It's quite a selfless thing to do, and it can be hard. It can be very difficult, but if we are in a relationship, it's important to remember that our partner has needs too, and perhaps we're tuning into those needs more at the start of this week. This could also be to do with friendship or new friendship. So we could go to a workshop and we meet like-minded people who we have these caring connections to, or we meet them online, like through YouTube or Facebook or something like that, where we find these deep connections, like we said, with like-minded people, and that just really can lift us. The more we connect to people, the less isolated we feel, especially if we are sensitive people or deeply, spiritual in our own way. We don't have to belong necessarily to any belief system, but to have that deep spiritual feeling, it can often be isolating. We can feel like we're on our own with something. So having those caring connections is going to make a big difference at the start of this week. As we move into the middle of the week, we have card 25, and the word on this card is deceit. We have a sinister looking fellow. Card 7. If I'm comparing this to a card in tarot, I would say it was the 7 of Swords, which can often mean theft or someone stealing from us. Perhaps we've stolen from somebody and we feel great guilt. This isn't about putting blame on. We've all made mistakes, but there's some sort of deceit in the middle of this week. It could be that someone else is deceiving us, and we have to listen to our gut intuition, our gut feeling. Is someone being truthful with us? Because we can always tell when someone's being truthful with us or not. And so we just really got to tune into that. It could be we're deceiving ourselves. Perhaps we're telling ourselves that we don't have a certain issue with something when we clearly do. Perhaps we're not very good with our finances, but we're pretending that it's all in check. Or perhaps we think we're in love with someone, but really we're not. There could be a million ways in which we deceive ourselves to protect ourselves a lot of the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be because someone's bad or evil. Often deceit comes from fear. A fear of being shunned, a fear of being rejected. That's what I believe. But there's some sort of thing going on. Could be he's got this sort of box in his hand and all this money's coming out. It could be scams. Got to be careful of that, especially with this technological age. So just have a bit of a watch out. It's not to fearmonger, but it's just to say there could be some trickery going on in the middle of this week, and we just got to keep our eyes peeled, but our hearts open, and listen to our gut instinct about that. And at the end of the week, we had this card a couple of weeks ago, I feel, strategy. It was really interesting when this card came up. Somebody gave their interpretation on it, which I thought was fantastic. So if anyone does have any other interpretations of what they're picking up from the cards, please feel free to share, because that really, you know, the more input that we get, the more we can, you know, share, and I think that's a wonderful thing. But what I'm getting from this is it's to do with health. I don't know why, but I'm picking up it's a strategy to do with health. So if we're feeling fatigued, or we're suffering from some kind of illness, or I'm getting like fatigue and drained energy come through. So strategizing how we can combat that. Maybe we need to drink more water, we need to keep hydrated, do some breathing, meditation, really put spirituality as a priority in our life at the end of this week. In particular, early night sleep, stretching, exercise. It sounds a bit boring, but it's like these strategies to get us into a fit way of being. We've heard that saying, I'm sure we've heard that saying that, you know, a body is a temple. It really is, because this flesh and bone and veins and nerve endings is just it's what houses our soul. But it is important, because that's what anchors us to this earth. We didn't have a body, we would be, you know, a light being, and we wouldn't be a human. So really we've got to look after it, and we all have little blips, don't we, of looking after our bodies, especially if we get busy. And it sometimes doesn't really go, it's not really a priority. It gets put on the back burner a little bit. But I feel that looking after our physical health and our spiritual health this week is going to be very important. We can put strategies in place on how we can do that, and just incorporate them slowly into our lives. I often feel like this is where a lot of New Year's resolutions go wrong, because we try to make these big changes and implement them really quickly. And with any change in life, us as humans, we are creatures of habit. So I often feel for myself personally that when I implement things slowly and steadily, so they become a habit, and then I introduce something else, becomes a habit, it can be easier. It might be a longer process, but I feel in the long run we stick to it more, because it just becomes part of our daily ritual, our daily routine. So just to recap, caring connections this week, really finding deep care and love for somebody in our lives. Middle of the week, bit of trickery, bit of deceit perhaps, so we just got to keep our eyes open for that. And like we said, listen to our intuition. And at the end of the week, we're strategizing ways that we can improve our health, well-being and spiritual connection with the divine. Thank you so much for joining me here this week. I really do appreciate it so much. Again, I apologize for last week's tech issues. If you would like to order a reading with me, I will leave that information in the description box down below this video. I'd be more than happy to do that with you. I actually have a discount code. If you type in 10% off, all one word, into any of the readings on my website, then that 10% will come off at the checkout. I'll also put it in the description box down below this video, so you can just copy and paste that in if that's easier to remember. But until we speak again next week, I'm sending you so much love and many blessings. Lots of love, Alyssa.